Hey, welcome to Real Talk, where I give real answers to real questions from real worship leaders. If you're a real worship leader with a real question and you want a real answer, head right here and submit your question for a future episode. I've got that link linked down in the description below. Click on it, submit your question, and I'll answer it. Got some good questions this week. Let's talk about it. Our worship team at a small country church is growing and looking to add new pieces. For the longest time, we have only had vocals and a piano, but we've recently had a couple guys in our church start learning guitar and drums. We're trying to evaluate if the drums are a good add right now, or if something like cajon might be better, or both. Could you offer any advice on addressing our situation and evaluating this decision? I love this question because it's something that I went through at my current church and even at my last church too. I have always had a cajon player with me on Sundays, like when we've had a percussionist. I've always chosen cajon. That's not because I believe that we shouldn't have drums during worship. It's just that in the environments that I served in and the instrumentation that we had, and perhaps even the preference of the congregation, I think that cajon was always the right choice for me in those environments. And I'm not saying that drums are never the right choice. I think that in some churches, probably a lot of churches, a drum set is the right choice. So I say that because I want you to hear two things. First of all, don't just do what everybody else is doing just because everybody else is doing it. I know the temptation is there, and the temptation was there for me to be like, man, I love all these modern worship songs, and they've got a drum set, and they've got a kick, and they've got cymbal swells, and they've got tom action. How are we even going to worship musically without that? It seems like that's so integrated into modern worship culture today. I'm just confessing that I've felt that way before, but where I've landed is you don't need that. You don't need a kick drum to make it feel like the Holy Spirit is there. You don't need cymbal swells to reach the climactic point of a song. And so quit looking at what other people do as your sole guidance for what you should do, and ask what will be best for my church. So you didn't give me much information, but you said I'm part of a small country church. We usually had vocals and a piano. That's what I have to go off of. I'm going to read between the lines and assume that a small country church maybe has some older people in it who really liked the vocals and the piano's instrumentation. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't add more instruments, but we want to be mindful of how we do that and not alienate the people at our church just for the sake of sounding cool or sounding modern. And so ask yourself, would adding drums, like a full drum set, be what is best for my church? Not would it be cool to have because I see Bethel Elevation Hillsong has a drum set, but is that what would be most edifying to my church and least distracting? And honestly, in a lot of small country churches, if it's what I imagine, the answer is probably go with a cajon. So there's that side of it. Also think about the instrumentation that you have. If you don't have a bass player, then to me, it seems weird to have like a full drum set without a bass player. Maybe that's just in my head, but you can definitely get away with a cajon and some acoustic guitars and a piano. In fact, that's the instrumentation I have at my church right now. We have a cajon, piano, acoustic guitar, potentially another acoustic guitar joining our team soon. And honestly, that's the kind of, I'll say it this way, that's the kind of instrumentation that I prefer. Not that I don't like full band as well. That can work out. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just talking about my preference. But it's my preference not just because I like the sound of it, but because I feel like it supports, at least in the congregations that I have led, it supports the purpose of our corporate worship gatherings, which is not for the band to drown out everyone else, but it provides enough support on the bottom where the congregation can sit on top and the congregation can still hear each other not just when we drop out and drop back and it's like, this is a really cool a cappella part of the song, but throughout the entirety of our service, everyone in our church can hear each other singing, and the congregation is the main voice and not the band. Now, if you have a full band, don't hear me saying, like, you can't do that with a full band. You definitely can do that with a full band. I'm just saying, in the contexts that I've served in, I feel like an acoustic instrumentation, including a cajon, over a drum set has served that function better for me. So I just share that with you for you to evaluate. You said, do you have any advice on assessing our situation and evaluating this decision? That's how I'd go about it. What is going to best serve my church, not just what is going to sound cool or be in style right now. I don't have a question for now. I just want to thank you. We're a church in a small town that has grown from 25 people to around 300. We have developed a worship team after years of having a piano player and the pastor leading music. Nothing wrong with that. We're just really having fun as a team/band. We have used many of your suggestions and appreciate your ministry for teaching and sharing your experiences. One thing that has given me confidence as the overall director is knowing that others struggle with the same musical team issues as we do. None of us are professional. We have been learning much of worship teamwork as we go. Sometimes I feel like I should know more about music and structure of a team. Listening to the questions submitted by others and hearing your responses, which sometimes we have worked through and implemented in a similar manner, gives me confidence that we are headed in the right direction. I appreciate your repeated reminder that we are all worship leaders with our goal being to lead our congregation to a focus of godly worship on Sunday mornings and outside our church building as well. Thank you, Spencer. Candy. I just wanted to include this, not a question, but an encouragement. Just first of all to say thank you, Candy, for the encouragement. I appreciate it. But I also want, for those of you who have sent in questions, and those of you considering sending in questions, which I'll pop up the lower thirds right now, this is how you send in a question. This series is based on your questions. And the more questions that I have to choose from, the better this series will be. This is episode 119 right now, which means I've answered over 200, almost 240 questions. And those are all from you. And so if you're considering sending in a question or you've been nervous about sending in a question before, I just encourage you, head to the link in the description below. No question is too stupid. In fact, the more simple it seems to you that the answer should be, probably the more beneficial it will be for other people in the Leading Worship Well community, because I guarantee that you are not the only one with that question. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten virtually the same question from people, and sometimes I don't answer them again because I'm like, this person asked literally the same exact situation in their church was happening, and they asked literally the same exact question. So I'll just answer this one person's question. And so if I don't get to your question, that might be the reason why. I've also got a bank of, probably 15, 20 questions now that I'm working through, but I would love your questions to be sent in. So that's the only touch point for this video. Usually I link some free resources. This is your chance to ask me any question you want. Head to the description below. And for those of you who have been watching for 119 episodes, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching this. This series could not exist without you, and I love that I hear things from people like Candy, where their church grew from 25 to 300 people, and now she's got this amazing worship team, and I am so humbled that you would use my advice, just some random worship leader from South Central Pennsylvania. So thank you for watching. Leave your questions down at the link below, and maybe you'll be in a future episode. Until I see you in the next one, keep leading worship well.